Forward to. All right. And let me share Facebook. Okay. Get rid of that and let me go full screen here. Okay. Marilyn.
Well, that looked like my stuff. If you show the other picture first, people can see what I actually made because all of that is not part of wood turning, but I made some spools to hold my embroidery floss. And when I buy floss, I buy two skeins of the same color. So I thought I'd make a spool that would hold two skeins. And of course, they don't. The two dark colored ones were the first ones I did, and not big enough. So I made a bigger one out of that lighter wood. And the whole point of it was that that little peg at the end of the spool lets me chuck it up in my drill. Now you can go to the next picture or to the other picture, because the whole point of the exercise was to take embroidery floss from a skein, which is the way you buy it, shown there on the left, and you can't use it in that condition. You have to make it into a ball or wind it on something. Otherwise, it just turns into a big nest, like a rat's nest or something. But the point was, I was making these balls like that black and blue thing back there. And it's fun to do. It's very exacting, but it's fun and it makes something pretty. It's called a tamari, and it's used in Japan as a gift.
Yeah.
But
I've
it's
heard of
fun to
these.
make, and I enjoyed making the spools, and I have to go make a whole bunch more because I have a whole bunch of colors of floss.
I think we were I think we were talking about these on Saturday, weren't we, Edie?
About what?
About this tamari? Or is that what you called it, Marilyn?
Yes.
I don't,
Tamari, Temari.
I've never heard of that. I wasn't talking about that.
Oh, okay. Somebody else then was talking to me. I thought it was on
Somebody else must have been.
Saturday. Somebody was talking about it, I thought so. Maybe it was before that with someone else.
Hey,
Oh,
Marilyn,
The dark colored wood is red heart,
are you
and
sure
the
about that?
light
It looks
colored.
an awful lot like Bubinga. I've turned some Bubinga and it looks distinctly like that.
Yeah, it does.
Well, when I bought it, it was red heart, but it may have been Babinga. They sold me to it. It sold it to me as red heart. I don't know. The it's the cutoffs from making legs for a stool that I made for my son. And if it's Bubinga, it's Bubinga. I'm not going to argue about it. I'm not the wood expert, but the light colored wood is yellow heart.
hmm.
And if that's Bubinga, I hope it's not a real oily wood because it'll stain my floss. The
It's pretty dense, so I wouldn't worry too much about
Okay, well, it is very dense. It's very nice to turn and very nice to sand.
it.
I sanded it to 2000 grit. Nobody sands that high except me when I'm not sanding to 12,000 grit. But 2000 grit makes it smooth enough that it doesn't snag the floss.
Yeah.
And
Marilyn, do
well,
those spools fit on something? What's a spool do?
they don't fit on anything. They just stand there or they lay down. I have
Oh,
the yellow one chucked up in my drill, preparing to fill it with another color of floss. But with it being in the drill, I can just bzz the drill and it spins
okay.
the spool and
Great
fills it
idea.
fairly quick.
Okay.
You
I
have
don't
to have
know if
somebody
you've
help
ever
you with
helped.
that, right, Marilyn?
Yeah, Ronnie holds the skein on his hands.
Yep.
But when grandmother used to knit all the time, they would buy their yarn in skeins, and then the little children had to sit there with the yarn on their hands while grandma made a ball out of it. And so I knew that something like that had to be done, but I've always tried to make a ball, but I can't. It slides apart, and I have a ball, but it just starts falling apart, and it's just as bad as trying to work with it from a skein. So I wanted to put it on spools where I had some control. I've cut notches in the edges of the spool to slide the thread end
Mhm.
into, and that way it keeps it from unrolling and unraveling.
Yeah.
But chucking it in the drill turned out to be a pretty good idea.
Put it on the lathe, have Ronnie hold the other end, crank it up to 3,000.
Yeah. And put the lathe on a foot switch.
Well, no, he didn't do it that
Come on,
way.
Ronnie's quick. He can let go in time.
No, he didn't. We didn't do it on that part on the lathe. We just did it in the house. But
Very
anyway,
cool. I like it. I
had-
like the idea. I like what you're doing with the tamari there too. That looks pretty cool.
thank you.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to show my wife that, and then she'll want me to make some because I hold the skeins myself right now.
Thank you, Marilyn.
Okay, have a good evening.
Yeah. David, you there?
I'm here.
All right.
All right. So this is a vase that I made during the Halloween breakout. And it's decorated with milk paint. And if you go to the next picture, you'll see the vase by itself. I made a mistake and made the neck too narrow, and therefore the hole on the inside wouldn't be large enough diameter to take the glass insert that I have. And I ordered a bunch of glass inserts that I thought would be a narrower diameter. Turns out they're not. So this is going to be a stick vase.
There you go.
How did you do the milk paint?
You put this is so a plug for Holland Van Goor's breakout later in the year. You put grooves or dimples in the wood, either with a chisel or a rotary chisel or a microcarver, and then you paint a bunch of layers of milk paint. So if you zoom in to that, to those individual dots, you'll see that there's white on the outside and then a dark blue and then different colors of blue on the inside. And that is basically the Grand Canyon. You're seeing all the strata. And so you paint the color that you want on the outside of each dot first. So in this case, there's some white on the outside of each dot. And then you paint successive layers of paint, and then you sand it all off until it's even with the surface, and that reveals all these different colors. And you'll notice there's an ombre of color from dark blue at the bottom up to lighter blue at the top. And the more you sand, the greater the thickness of the wood interstices gets. In other words, the smaller the dots get.
You're sanding on the lathe or by hand?
No, hand sanding, but you could sand on the lathe. It just happens really quick.
What did you make the holes with?
Microcarver.
Came out awesome, man. I love the colors. That base, that wood was bland. I remember when you made it, and it just
I do.
it really popped it up to the next level. It's very cool.
Thanks. So Ted was kind enough to point out that if you zoom out, that the color at the top doesn't really stand out unless you're basically at the same level as the vase, which is not the typical viewing angle. So bringing that color down farther would help the that top color come out more. So I got to figure out what I'm going to do about the fact that the hole in the middle is too small to fit this glass insert that I have. So maybe I'll put a smaller test tube inside or something.
And what
that
did you
one-
finish it all with? The final finish.
I'm sorry, say again?
And what did you finish it with, the final finish?
So this is a couple of coats of shellac as a pore sealer, and then some wipe-on poly.
Okay.
And David, the glass inserts that I had, I can't remember now, some of them were too small and some of them were too large. Is that correct?
The ones that you had, Ted, the way I remember it, were all too large.
All too large. Okay.
Yeah, so this needs a glass insert that's definitely smaller than 1.75 inches.
Okay.
And all the ones that you can find online, particularly on Amazon, are spec'd at 1.75. But when you get them in, they're actually, 1.8 or 1.85. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Pop
That's
them on the
usually-
lathe, bring them down a little.
yeah, just sand them.
Yeah.
I love
Well,
that.
you just have a vase without an insert in it, so it's just for dried flowers.
Yeah, it's just for dried flowers.
Yeah, that's cool.
Or you just coat the whole inside with a bunch of coats of epoxy.
Yeah, I mean, look at that. That looks quite beautiful.
Yeah, it's they're $8 plastic flowers from Walmart. So looks
Wow.
You might have better luck finding a plastic insert. I don't think it matters.
yeah, I looked for inserts. I didn't care what material they were out of, and at some point you just go, I'll just make another one with a bigger hole on the inside.
Yeah. Well, that's what I learned is that you start with the glass insert and then you build the vase around it.
Yep.
So great.
David, I have a glass insert that's less than 1.25 inches. How wide or how narrow does it need to be?
Thank you, Maria. It needs to be less than 1.75 inches.
Oh,
So
so
inch
this
and
one work?
1.25 inches might work.
Yeah, you can have it if you like.
Thank you.
How tall is it, Maria?
Right here, can you see? Let's see. It's less than 4 inches.
Yeah, so I'd have to
Stick it on a
put
block.
an insert in the bottom to lift the bottom of it up so that it would
Yeah.
but yeah, if you send me a link for that, I'd be happy to pursue that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Actually, I can pass this one on to you. This is like a tea container, tea leaf container. Yeah, I have multiple.
Thank you. That's very generous.
You're welcome.
And the next image is sort of cheating because I had 2 slabs of wood that came from the same log. And so I finished one differently than the other. They're both oak and they had this beautiful figure and some bark inclusions. And one I ebonized. Can you go to the next picture? Thank you. One I ebonized and managed to put gold leaf on. And the ebonizing was interesting because the heartwood of the oak just soaked up the ebonizing solution and turned jet black, while the sapwood was still really gray. So I had to paint the sapwood with a tannin solution to get the black to be somewhat even. But it looks very nice. I think if you go back, you'll see that the inside of the bowl has this sort of antique feel.
Yeah.
But, one opinion, let's say the most valuable opinion in my house, let's say my wife's opinion, is that I ruined the top piece by putting ebonizing solution on it, and it should have been just left like the bottom. So here I stand before you.
I think it looks great. If you had a problem blacking, it's worth investing in a bottle of Speedball black ink.
Yeah, I have some of that.
It just solves all your weak blackening problems instantly. But it's messy. You want gloves.
It tends to go a little purple.
Yeah.
David, is there a finish that you used over all of that?
Yeah, both of those are finished with General Finishes wooden bowl finish, which you buy in a quart can.
Great, thanks.
Which is a real close to their silicel.
Huh, I didn't know that. Thank you.
Wait a minute. I'm gonna have to double. It's actually closer to the wipe-on polys. The silicel's got a lot more tongue oil in it than the salad bowl finish or wooden bowl finish now.
Yeah.
We used to call it salad bowl, didn't they, before?
They did, and it's polyurethane,
Yeah.
and urethanes will not stand up to ponding water and are absolutely not allowed by the FDA or USDA. Not that that matters for what we're doing,
Yeah.
but that's why they changed the name.
Okay.
You know, a lot of people will put, meets 175.300. Polyurethanes don't.
Well, David, I like them both, so I don't know that I have a preference one over the other. The thing I do like about the ebonizing is I actually like seeing the differences in the grain and the coloring not being consistent.
Yeah, when you hold it in your hand, that top bowl has a very nice finish. It feels antique.
Yeah.
And it's got a sort of a leathery kind of feel. It just has a great patina to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. The blackening never really photographs well.
Yeah.
It's so hard to get the lighting right, but in person, it usually looks really stunning.
And it was fun to do reasonably successfully the gold leaf in the groove around the outside.
Yeah.
Congrats.
You end up with little bits of gold all over your shop. Feels like you're blowing money around.
Well, they're both nice. I like the medullary rays you can see in it too, in that other one. So very nice work. Thanks for sharing, as always.
Thank you.
Is that your oak, Ted?
I don't believe so. Is it?
Nope. No, it's a different oak.
Yeah, my oak pieces I think that David got are not large enough for those bowls. They'll be smaller.
And I'm not fast enough to have done that in the 3 or 4 days since you gave me that oak, Ted.
Get with it, David. Get going.
Really? This is the South or something, right?
Jeffrey, or is it
Oh,
Jaffrey?
boy.
Maybe it's Jaffrey. Is it Jaffrey,
Oh, wow. Never could type. This is my take on the classic ball and cup toy. Actually was looking at a Japanese similar kind of thing called a kendama, which has a couple of different size cups. So I made this one. The centerpiece, the big cup's about 1.5 inches diameter. The piece I fit on there, I started by drilling a 1/2 inch hole in it, then turned the bowls at either end and then glued it up. But the two smaller holes are 1 3/8 and 1 1/4. The little Purple Heart ball you see there is right at 1 inch, maybe a shade under. Based on ChatGPT advice, that'll easily fit in the smaller the holes, make the whole thing kind of easy to do. The white ball, the maple one, I think it is about 1 3/32. So it's going to have to be an on the money perfect toss to put it in the smaller of the 3 cups.
Do you ever angle the rim to make it a little easier, or is that cheating?
That's cheating.
Okay.
And the idea here is I've got my sister's got triplet grandchildren. They're now 3 boys are, I think, 12, 13. I'm going to give it to them and drive them nuts. And since they live across the street from her and this thing makes a lot of racket, it'll drive her nuts too.
Such a nice uncle.
When they get good with the little Purple Heart ball, they can switch to the larger ball and make it a little trickier.
So I'm curious, Jeff. So you have a cross. I I can understand the main cup, but the two side cups, how did you fasten those into the metal?
That is one piece of wood. I started by drilling a 1/2 inch hole dead center, then turned it spindle style, turned the outer shape, left enough wood to slide that left some meat around that 1/2 inch hole. The shaft on the centerpiece is 1/2 inch diameter.
So
Hauled out the two
multi-axis
cups
turn.
and then slid slid it up the handle and glued it in place.
Oh, okay, I see.
So it's not a multi-axis turning.
Okay.
No, I seriously considered doing one block of wood, but I didn't have a piece of oak that big.
Yeah, you'd have a tough time. Okay, I got it. So the shaft here is running through the cross shaft,
Yes, exactly.
right? Drilled a hole through the cross shaft and then slid that through there. Okay.
And I drilled the hole first because trying to get that hole centered up on the money on a round piece was just going to be more trouble than it was worth. It was easier just to drill the hole first.
Well, Steve, you should be adding this to your project.
Also, if you make the side cups all out of one piece, they'd be side grained, so those 1/2 inch round spindles would be really weak.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Yes, it'd get a little tricky.
Yeah.
And probably deform, so it wouldn't.
Yeah.
The ball wouldn't fit in it. So.
Keep the kids more occupied, though.
Yeah. You make the whole 15 16s.
Oh, Jim, you're a torturer.
I made those.
Well, thanks, Jeff, for sharing that. And I'm curious about this piece.
Years ago, Jason Clark demoed the Saturn bowl for us. And I was intrigued, and my older brother is an astronomer, amateur astronomer. His 75th birthday is next month. I figured I will finally get off my rear end and make a Saturn bowl for him. That is zebra wood. You do a very small diameter bowl. That one's actually exactly 2 inches, the same as the OD on my 50mm jaws. That's what I used to space it with. You turn that wing down to 1/8 of an inch, which is easier said than done when you're no more coordinated than me. Then you use a special parting tool and part at a 45-degree angle halfway through the wing from the front and the back. So the bowl is cut loose and halfway out the wing is cut. Again, from both sides at a 45-degree angle with a homemade, very small parting tool. If you go to the next picture, that's the back side. The bowl is small enough so the thing will sit on its side. The first meeting I went to with the guild, I actually won the drawing and got that Sorby miniature turning set for doing Christmas tree ornaments and the like. And what you're looking at there started out as a skew chisel. And I used the edges, the flat edges of the CBN wheels and ground off a lot of steel and got that thing down to about a 1/4 inch long, and that's 1/64 thick. And you go in at a 45-degree angle. I used a setup block to control that angle, which was easier said than done, and managed to get this thing separated so that the bowl and both the rims spin independently. Go back one for me. So you can see the grains lined 3 different ways there. Each of the pieces will spin independently. You cut sort of a wedge in the parts. I've got a practice piece I'll bring down to our explosion to pass around. Practice piece in pine. If you want to give it a shot, um, Jason will sell you the PDF how to for $10. If you don't want to spend the $10, I'll send you a copy of mine for only $5, right?
How thick is that orbit part?
Pardon?
How thick is the orbit part where you got the
It's 1/8 inch,
1/8? Okay.
and you've got to be 1/8
Yeah.
all the way down, and the bowl has to meet that rim at a 90-degree angle, just about right on the money, or you'll never get it parted off. And if the tool you use to make those cuts is any bigger than a 64th, you take too much wood, you leave too big a kerf, and it'll fall apart. And if you've ever worked with zebra wood, the stuff's hard as a brick. And that 64th of an inch wide tool just really, wear your face shield. It was an adventure.
Well, Jeff, that's a really fine piece of work.
Thank you.
On there. I mean, that's a tough thing to do, to cut those. I mean, to cut it, to turn it that thin and so forth to start with, but then to cut those grooves in there and save it, and have it workable when you get done. That's pretty amazing piece of work. And I'm sure, was it your brother-in-law, was it?
My brother, but this is the third try here. The first two in pine. The first one was trash can filler. The second one's good enough to show people. It definitely took a couple tries to get the hang of this thing.
Yeah.
But you got it. It's easy enough.
Yeah, I'm surprised that, yeah, I mean, I would think it'd take me a few tries. If I was lucky, I might get it on the third, but that's really nice.
Getting the measurements. I mean, the small bowl is exactly the diameter. I use the 50 millimeter jaws closed up all the way to measure. And the next ring out, that is the large cone from the one-way live center. I just put that on the tailstock and trace that for the next ring out. And you put your little pencil mark on, and then that's where you cut. And I put a 1/8 inch mark on the parting tool. If you do the geometry, halfway through a 1/8 inch thick piece at a 45-degree angle is a shade over 1/8. So you go in 1/8 and you got a little deeper cut than you need.
Very cool. So are you sending this off to your brother when?
We're going down there at the end of the month for his birthday party.
Oh, okay. All right.
I would think practicing the skill on a little thicker wood than 1/8 would help before you really tried to do it at this level.
No, because if it's any thicker, I mean, look at that cutting tip there. That's a 64th wide and 1/4 long. If you try to go in any deeper than about 1/8 of an inch, it's going to snap. I mean, that's a really damn skimpy piece of wood you're cutting with.
You mean of metal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, real skimpy.
Well, keep at it, Jeffrey, and then you can do a demo for our club again on Saturday.
That took, as a third try, that was about 4 hours start to finish.
Yeah.
I'm not going to squeeze that down to about 1 hour and 45.
Yeah.
But like I said, I'll share the directions.
Well, thanks for sharing that. And as I said, that's really nice piece of work you've done there.
Thank you.
Edie.
Yes. This is an ash bowl. I am still obsessed with feet. So if you show the next picture,
Oh, yes.
Why is it? It's out of focus. So I put feet on bowls this month. And I think I'm trying to figure out what's the right size ratio, the distance of the feet to the size of the bowl. Like if there's a right, because my brother said this was top heavy and that those feet were too small and too close together.
It's
How
3
many,
feet.
how many feet are there? 3 or 4?
There's 3.
Okay, that's your most stable thing. I like feet, so you're in my league here. And
I
it's
like
wonderful grain pattern. I mean, really.
Yeah.
How big is that bowl? How roughly?
I think it's 9 inches in
Okay.
diameter,
Yeah, it's good size.
about 4.25 high with the
Looks
feet.
perfect to me.
Really, I think your brother's nuts.
Okay. Um,
Is your brother an engineer?
no, no, no. Yeah, I thought this was okay, and that's why I didn't like the other bowl that I submitted because I think the feet are too far apart on it. So,
Well, I think what I remember the rule on bowls for if you want them stable is that it has to be 40%
Yeah.
of the bowl diameter size, but that is dependent on the shape of the bowl to some extent too. But I think just as a general rule, 40%. So if you have a 10-inch bowl, then it'd have to be at least 4 inches, rim or foot around it on the bottom, something like that.
Well, and because it's 3 feet, you're getting an optical illusion that makes it look smaller than it is. That curve is broader than what we're seeing.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think you probably got it's about to be pretty close to being right, in my guesstimation.
It looks like it's holding the skeins of yarn just fine.
When you
so
push
what
down,
I'm sorry.
Edie, I was just going to ask if you push down on the rim, how easy is it to make it move? Does
It's
it feel like it's unstable?
No, it's stable. It's plenty stable. I'm
There
thinking
you
of
go.
like design wise, the look of it. Um, yeah. So, what I want to do, and I haven't quite figured out how to do, is make a bowl with feet that's kind of tipped so that it's the top rim is on a slant,
Oh,
but
sand
it
one of the legs.
still has feet.
Sand one of the legs.
Uh,
He's saying make one of these shorter, one of your legs shorter.
I think she
well,
wants to slide the bowl on the
yeah.
feet, you know, so
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
canted on the feet.
Exactly. Yeah, I want the feet actually over to the side so that the bowl is tipped, right?
You
And
have
I'm
to
trying to figure out, the only thing I can think to do is to actually make more like a sphere, hollow form with feet, and then somehow cut the top to make it a bowl. I don't
I'm not sure I'm following you. You want the feet
like
offset?
imagine you moved the feet over to closer to that um
So if you made a bigger ring, a
right.
wider ring, and then took it and slightly made it off center and turned it again, you would have part of that ring, I think, would look like you want. So it would be off center. And then you could take away the pieces you don't want, and maybe that would work.
Not easy. Have you ever seen I can't remember the German craftsman who does the bowl within a bowl? It's like 2 bowls. One's normal and the other one's off kilter.
No.
Yeah,
I'll try and find the link and send it to you.
We had a demo. What's his name? Todd. I can't think
Todd
of his name.
Raines.
Did he do
Odd
that?
ring.
Yeah, he did that.
They've got to be spherical, don't they?
He
That's
does
what I'm
it
saying. It would have to
spherical.
be a sphere. Like you'd
Yeah.
almost have to make a hollow form
Yeah.
in order to tilt and cut the top so that that the curve of the bowl wasn't weird, right? Um,
Do it like Fred said. Use your regular tenon and cut it for an expansion to grab in expansion mode as well. So you've got two tenons. Use one to turn the bowl, then cut feet out of the two different tenons, and that'll give you offset. 2 feet on the expansion mode tenon and one on the compression mode tenon, and you'll be offset.
Yeah.
can't visualize these things.
Come over, we'll do it.
Okay. Yeah.
If you just make that bowl about 1.5 inches taller and continue that curvature up
So that
to
it's
you get to a
spherical.
height, and
Yeah.
then cut it off with a Japanese pull saw and sand it flat.
Hard to
Sand
do
it
on a
off.
9-inch bowl, is it, to get like a straight cut?
Well, you don't have to have a perfectly straight cut. If you've got a sheet of sandpaper, you can
Oh,
buy
yeah.
the stuff at Klingspor on a roll and just staple it down to a piece of plywood, and then you can put the bowl top down on that sheet of plywood, sheet of sandpaper, and even it up.
So your idea is similar to mine with the hollow form, just not all the way closed at the top.
Right.
Yeah, if you make that an inch or 1.5 inches taller and cut it off on the slant, that's all you
Yeah.
need. That'll offset your feet.
Edie, I posted 2 links to 2 videos of people doing bowl within a bowl. I think if you watch them, you'll get concepts that'll help you get there.
Okay. Cool.
This is
All right.
this is your other one, right?
Yeah, this one's ugly. I hate it.
Why?
I hate it. The
Good.
feet are so wide apart. I'm thinking the best thing to do is just to cut the feet off of it. But I
would have carried the outside curve on down instead of flattening it out.
the outside.
You're saying so the feet are down here?
Well, the bottom of the bowl would be lower.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, I mean, the feet do look long. So
Edie, I like it. I think the proportions between the feet straddled out like that, it looks sturdy. It looks like it's about to walk away.
I feel like it's gonna waddle.
No,
Yeah,
it's very
waddle away
stable.
too. That's okay. But I like the shape of the way the neck comes up too. And
Ah.
the feet and the neck are aligned. I like it the way it is.
I don't know. I think I'm gonna have to cut those feet off. I don't know if I can live with those.
I don't know. I like it too. I
If
like
you cut the feet off, how is it going to be stable? Because the bottom has a curve to it.
Oh, I can cut
Put it
it.
back on the lathe and deal with that.
No, I can continue the curve.
Edie,
Just-
I like it. I don't think you should cut the feet off.
Oh,
You're being.
I'll say this. I've got 3 boxes full of parts I hate.
Leave the feet on and put shoes on them going
If you-
all different directions.
if
And
you
call it alien bowl.
if you just cover those feet with your thumbs, and it just looks like such a nicer piece to me.
Edie, you can appease everybody by making an exact duplicate and cut the feet off of one of them. Then you have kept both.
Exact duplicate. And to find an exact piece of wood that size too. That's all.
I'd put it aside. Let it sink in, and you may come back to it and decide you like it, or maybe just embellish the. You got a lot of meat there on those feet. You could embellish that, or you could make them a little more angular so they taper down to a smaller base or something. But I think it stands nicely. But
It has a little bit of a personality. Like I don't know.
Yeah, I think it.
Animal.
do
It's a little
think
bit
it-
of an animal. It's not a.
I'd make a lid for it. Actually, is what I'd do with
Yeah.
that shape, and then the feet, and put a little finial on the lid, and it would balance it, and you'd be all set.
Yeah,
Maybe make a little color on the lid.
That's a really good idea, Steve.
Edie, is this the wood I gave you?
Yes, is the piece you gave me. Thank you.
I probably have another piece out of that log if you want to make a lid.
I guess I could do it. I'm not promising those feet are staying on it though.
Well, it's your piece, so you do what you want.
I'll sit on it for a bit, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
I think without those feet, it loses a lot of character. It may look, more finer, right? Because it looks real sturdy, like somebody was saying. But to me, it would lose. It's got a lot of character with those feet on it right now.
Don't amputate.
All right.
All right. Well, we'll wait to see. In a few months, you let it sit and see what you come up with.
Okay.
Whether you put a lid on it, or you cut the feet off, or you enhance the feet, or you dye it, or you paint it, or you cut it in half, or what you do.
Cut it in half which way, Ted?
Well, I don't know. The way you might decide. Anyways, I like it the way it is, but I'm curious to see what you're going to end up with. Thanks for all the bringing it in, both pieces, and all the conversation. Both. Enjoy that. Okay, Norm.
Yeah, I have not been turning much in the last few months outside of classes, but I have a bunch of kits left over from last year I never finished, so I put some time in. Did a bunch of pepper mills 2 weeks ago, and then I did these last weekend. Just little project kits from Penn State Industries. Those wine stoppers, the stoppers aren't the best quality stoppers out there, but the fact that there's a corkscrew in them makes them of interest to people.
Oh, so it's a corkscrew and a stopper.
Right.
Ah, cool.
And it works really because of the duality of the handle. It works really well with that Spectraply, as long as you put it together properly.
And what is this? What's this other piece here? What is that?
Well, it's a kaleidoscope wand.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought it might be.
Yep. Always fun to have those at the booth for the kids.
Yeah. Cool.
And there's some more little projects. Yep. Ruth and Al's bottle openers, and then the pourers, liquor and wine pourers. I like those because the pourer stays in the bottle.
So with that mass on top, the cork is able to hold that in place in the bottle.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you look next to the walnut one on the right, that's the cork pourer just sitting loose.
Okay.
They're just little kits.
Yeah. Looks fun.
Norm, what are you saying that Spectraply to? I mean, that just really looks nice, the finish in that.
I only sand it to about 200, but I'm using a skew, so I'm not even sanding it with the lathe running it. I'm just hand sanding afterwards, and then I hit it with spray lacquer.
Okay. Thanks.
The skew finish is really nice, and it works on that, particularly on that wood.
Yeah, nice.
Try that.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Norm. You got this stuff pieces here too.
Oh yeah, so Steve's been feeding me his cutoffs, and I like boxes of them, and every once in a while I pull a piece and try to make a small project out of it. But I had enough of the larger ones that I said, I think I can do something interesting out of this. And I picked up these 19-inch molds fairly cheaply, so I'm gonna try making Lazy Susans out of these.
Wow.
Because I had them lying around, they were all just offcuts with weird angles to them. And I put the mold down, I lay the pieces down, what looked good. marked it with a pencil, bandsaw the outside. And actually, my time at NC State yesterday was to resaw those down. They were a little bit too thick. So I knocked off like a quarter of an inch. So now they're truly just 1 inch thick. And then just kept running them through the drum center. So I get nice, clean finishes. But as Steve pointed out, that's a lot of resin in the middle. So I'm still working out what I'll do in the middle. I may not use those central burls. I may just put a collection of exotic wood discs just to kind of fill out and take out the need for so much resin. But again, it's only an inch thick. It's not a platter. It's going to be just a lazy Susan.
You could take more pieces, if you separated that middle piece out and brought it like in the V, just bring the arrow down right to the lower left. I mean, you could put twice as many pieces in the middle there.
Yeah, it's just that they're either a curve or a natural edge.
Right.
And any kind of straight edge just to me throws it out the wall. It just doesn't look right in that mix.
Yeah.
Is this piece up here in the top, Norm? That's
a possibility. That's one of the pieces Steve gave me.
Okay.
It's a little too tall.
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
So I'd have to turn away a lot of those peaks.
Yeah, or take more off the bottom of it.
Yeah, which shrinks it. So I don't really want to do that. And plus that's not it was fun enough cutting, resawing the curves.
Yeah.
I'm not going to put that central burl piece through a bandsaw.
No.
I like my fingers a little bit more than that.
Yeah, I hear you.
Do you have to lay out the wood for like the screws in the bearing?
No, I'll just screw into either wood or resin.
Right into resin. Okay.
I got little aluminum on Amazon, nice little aluminum what do you call it? Lazy Susan hardware, not the steel stuff, which all tons of metal and
yeah. Okay. I was thinking the screws that show in the resin.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I want to put a bunch of stuff in the middle.
Yeah, yeah.
Odds are I'm not drilling through resin, but through.
Yeah. It's nice. Interesting.
We'll see. Say stuff like this, there's so much that can go wrong. That
yeah, total experiment, but once you figure it out, it'll probably be pretty cool.
Hopefully.
Well, good luck with it.
Thank you.
We'll be interested to see.
I won't have it this weekend.
Darn.
Are you gonna color the resin or use clear?
That's the other question. So I want I'm gonna paint the burl edges with something kind of a metallic finish. So I want the resin pour to be translucent on the clear side, but I may run some color just through the central area once it's setting up. I haven't had a lot. Steve's had more luck with that than me, because a lot of the resin I use it's set so slowly. It's very hard to find the flash point.
Oh.
We'll see.
Yep. Thank you. Jim.
I'm muted. Norm, if you drill one of those thick pieces of wood with about big enough for a AA battery, you put 2 AA batteries in there, push button switch and cast LEDs in it. Huh?
I've considered that over time. I won't do it with the first one of these. Just because the LEDs and resin casting, it's a little iffy.
Yeah. Huh.
Sometimes the heat's too much and it blows up the LEDs, and there's nothing you can do then.
No, that wouldn't be good. Oh, I thought they did it. Anyway, this is an ikebana made out of what is it? Ambrosia maple.
Mm-hmm.
It's turned off center. Everything I do is turned off center nowadays. And
with the duck's chuck.
With the duck's chuck. No, this one I think I did this on the drill press. I actually drilled a hole on the one side and chucked into that. Turned the base, turned the whole thing off the hole.
Mm-hmm.
And that's Rita's touch to it.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Rita's touch explains it. Otherwise, it kind of a funny looking thing.
Yeah. Well, the Ikebana is Japanese, and there's a whole study of Ikebana or whatever, where to put it and how to decorate them and what you do with them. And there's people collect them and
I just finished
buy
my
them. What? Anyway,
So Jim, where did you get the Ikebana?
oh, I bought a whole bunch of those somewhere. I don't remember. Years ago, I've still got they're cast. I think they're heavy. They're probably hot metal or lead or something. They're heavier than steel, I think. I don't know what they're made out of.
I have a source that if anybody wants them, just let me know. There's a guy in Hawaii that I buy mine from in bulk. I think it's Over the Hawaiian Moon on Etsy or something. I think that's the name, but I don't buy them from on Etsy from them. I buy them. I just get them directly, and they're cheaper.
They're made out of steel, aren't they? Or maybe bronze. I bet they're bronze. Probably about $12 a piece, $15 a piece.
The ones I buy are aluminum, and then the needle part is glued into the base.
Oh, I see. No, these are all
frogs, right?
Frogs, yeah, that's the frog.
Jim, when you before you turned that, did you use a sander to get that profile that we see on the bottom edge of that picture?
No, that's turned. That's all turned.
You turned that?
Yeah. I drilled a hole first in a square block of wood. I drilled a hole for the Ikebana, and then I put an expansion chuck and turned a recess on the bottom to grab it with a big chuck, and also turned the whole bottom and finished it. Then turned it over and turned the top and finished that off. Does that make sense?
Is it rock?
What?
Is it rock?
No.
Okay, because it looks like it's got a curved bottom.
Yeah, no, just the corners are cut.
Oh, it's just the corners. Okay.
It doesn't have legs on it, E. Anyway.
They'll cut them and ship them to you.
Yeah, never mind. No, it's pretty stable. That was an article in Wood Turning Magazine out of England.
Cool.
Was that this month?
No, yeah, I think it just came out.
Oh no, your spin top was this month.
Well, I don't know. I'm the last one. Anybody that writes for it, they're the last ones to get an issue to get to see it. So I think they do that on purpose. I don't know. But anyway.
Well, if you sign up online, Jim, you don't have to wait for that
okay.
shipping. It came out yesterday.
But no, that's one of them. And this is interesting. These are 4-inch spherical balls. Anytime two spheres intersect each other, the point of intersection is a round hole. So everything I do is drawn. There's two kinds of wood turners. One puts a block of wood on the lathe and starts turning. And if they get a catch, they got a smaller, one-of-a-kind, unique item. When I put a piece of wood on the lathe, I know exactly what's going to come off to the 100th of an inch. These are exactly 4 inches in diameter, and they intersect each other. Oh, I can't remember. 7/16 of an inch, I think. But
Wait a minute. Is this turned as one piece or two pieces?
It's one piece, yeah.
Okay, you're going to have to go in a little more explanation on that.
Well, wait till you see my next one. My next one is 3 balls. I just
No. How are you doing this, Jim?
It's not done yet.
It's time for the engineer to step up.
No, you have to read the article. Is there more pictures? There's the bottom. Right here, you can see now, if there was a tenon on each end, I leave a 1/2-inch tenon on each end. With a tenon on each end, that's a spindle turning, okay?
So out here you're saying there's a tenon.
There's a tenon, yeah, on both ends.
On both
Right
ends.
now, you're turning two spheres
Yeah.
side by side in spindle form. They're flat top and bottom. On the bottom, the sphere, I put tenons on the bottom.
So it's a multi-axis, a two-axis turning. Three, I guess.
Three axis turning.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that connecting hole wasn't drilled. It was as you hollowed it out.
No, that appears.
The
I've done the same with the, did I show, I've shown cubes before. I do a cube, and on all 8 sides of the cube, I turn a sphere, or turn a half a sphere. And when the sides intersect each other, you have holes on all you would have 8 holes in it.
So the tenons, you use the tenons on the back, on the bottom of them to turn out hollow out the
To
inside.
hollow that out, yes.
And you use a tenon on the end of each of it to turn the sphere
Yes.
themselves.
Yes.
Makes sense.
When
Do
you're,
you use counterweights to balance it when you're doing this?
yes, that's the question.
No, I learned to turn on a shopsmith, and you just walk around and follow it. So I chase it around no matter where it goes, and I turned it in. I used to have a 2x4 frame between the wall and my lathe because I got tired of chasing it around. Anyway, wear a face shield and keep your hands on this side of the tool rest. Because when it smacks your hand, it really hurts. But when it smacks it the second time, you wish you weren't born. Oh God, that hurts. Anyway, you learn quick, and the third one I have, it's out in the shop, but I'll show the third one of these days. It's all done. I just have to finish sanding it.
It's a beautiful piece, Jim. I would really appreciate it if you would just take a couple of photos of the mounting when you do stuff like this.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of follow you this time, but I will tell you 60 to 70% of the time when you're explaining something, I have no clue what you're actually doing.
Neither do I. I only got 2 pictures I can show. If you want to give me 12 pictures, I'll show you. In fact, I got it on my phone. I don't know. I could show you. I could show you a 3-part on my phone, but
didn't you send 3 pictures of this, Jim?
I might have sent 3 pictures.
He's got 3 pictures here.
Okay.
But there's none of them are the actual mounting. So
no, they're all finished. No.
What he's saying is that he has a tenon on the back of each one of these, right?
Yeah.
And
it's only about 3/8 of an inch long.
Yeah.
So it's underneath the radius of the ball.
And he uses that to turn the inside out,
yeah,
hollow these out, and then he has a tenon on the end of each end of the there, and the
spindle turning for the outside curve.
Yep.
Yeah.
He uses that to turn the outside curve.
You do the outside spindle turn first, right?
So then, Jim, you turn off one of those tenons.
The first thing I do is on a rectangular block.
Yeah.
I drill the 2 holes. I find myself using my mouse to show you what's going on, and it doesn't work over here. Anyway, the 2 holes, the bowl cavities have a center. I drill a hole on each one of those, so I know exactly where those are going to be. Then I screw a tenon on there. I screw about a 2-inch tenon, 3/8 of an inch long, one on each one of those. I put that in a chuck, and I turn the tenon on the opposite side. And then I take those tenons off. I find the centers. Here again, you have to draw this because the centers are above the center of the wood. And you'd have to see it on our drawing. Anyway, I turn it around, and then I have the 2 tenons on this ready to turn the inside of the bowls out.
You got to have these tenons set up precisely, correct?
Yes, they got to be exactly on.
Yeah.
If you do it, if anything's wrong, that hole will be bigger than it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And if it's not on center, it's oval. It comes out on one side,
Right.
an oval. So, no, it's dead on. You turn the first bowl to exactly a quarter of an inch thickness. And then as the second bowl is turned, you don't even have to measure it because when you get the quarter inch thick, you got the 1 inch hole.
Yeah.
You just watch what's happening and it happens.
So Jim, if you have one of these another time, if you have, because we've had less entries into the show and tell, send some extra pictures, and if I can get, if there's space in the gallery that month, if you want to put some process pictures in, I'll put them in, and I'll just see how it goes. But the last few months we have had time
Okay.
to do that.
Yep.
So yeah.
Jim, is a 3-sphere one, are they all linear or are they like 120 degrees from each other? When you say a 3-sphere.
I have 3 spheres, just like this, 2 spheres. I would add one more sphere. It has
In line with the other ones.
What I was
Because I'm sitting here thinking, how were you doing that if they were all like 120 degrees?
Well, what I was going to do, I almost did it, but I could turn so many things I have no use for. I mean, absolutely no. What would you do with 2 bowls and a hole in the side? But worse than that, if I turned the center bowl straight up and I cocked both other bowls 30 degrees, which can be done easy enough. It's another different setup, but it's the same turning, but the outside bowls would be set at different angles. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Instead of being flat, they'd be set at 30-degree angles or 40. Anyway. No, I shouldn't even tell you. My next one on the drawing board is 3 in a triangle. And that's not
That's
easy.
what I was asking, if it was like a triangle yet or they were
Well, that's coming. I got it laid out, but I don't know if I don't know. I have to think how to do this. You ran out of places to hold it.
That's going to be a challenge.
Yeah.
This one's a challenge.
Don't hold your breath, but yeah, these are fun. I also do a cube. I could show the cube. I do a cube with half spheres cut into each side of the cube. And the spheres intersect each other just like these bowls do.
Yeah.
So each side you have 4 holes in that half sphere.
And Jim, you did the demo for us on that, and I think we have
I
that
did.
recorded, and it's available on the website.
How long ago?
Oh gosh.
Before COVID.
Was it before COVID?
I think it was.
Yes.
Probably was before COVID, but I'm not sure that it's there, but if it's not, we've loaded up quite a bit of older stuff, so it should be there. It's not that old. I mean,
Yeah.
some stuff that Norm has out on his site that are 10 years old or more. So I would imagine that the one for Jim is there.
Anyway, this is walnut. That's okay.
Jim, would
Well-
it be possible to mount the opening side with a worm screw to a chuck?
Yeah, you could. Yeah.
So you could get a fan on the backside.
I found the screw-on tenon. I make about 2-inch round, half-inch thick round discs with a screw in a number 12 screw, probably 1.5 inches long, and I screw them onto all kinds of things. You could screw them in and turn what you want, and screw it in on another center, and turn what you want on another center. Or like Edie, if you wanted 3 feet on that bowl, you could mark out a triangle on the opening of the bowl when it's flat, not taken out. Screw a tenon on there, turn the foot on the bottom, do all 3 feet, and then turn the bowl.
What?
Yeah.
He's saying that you have you have a tenon on the bottom that's in line with your bowl, but you
Okay.
on the top of the bowl before you turn the bowl out, you offset it and you mount on that offset and then turn the foot on the bowl first.
That's right.
You understand?
No
No.
comprende.
Fish?
Oh, yeah. Never mind.
I mean, what I guess if you, huh?
First off, Edie, I'm with you. A bowl is a container you put food in, set it on the table. It was never meant to have legs on it, okay? If you want to make a lamp base out of it, make a lamp base out of it. But a bowl was never made to have feet on it.
I like feet on a bowl.
I know, it's not what a bowl. In fact, calabash bowls calabash bowls are round so you can set them in the sand. A bowl just anyway.
We don't live in the sand.
Go down there. We'll never finish this meeting.
Never mind. Yeah, go for it. This is a round bowl, 4-inch spherical bowl. Perfect. Perfect.
Jim, could you possibly bring that when you come to the meeting?
Sure.
Take a better look at it.
I got 2 more of them.
Yeah, even if they're in stages where they have the other connection points on them, tenons or otherwise.
Oh yeah, that might be helpful.
Yeah,
I can show pictures of them, but they're beyond that. But
oh, okay.
no, I'm on other things now. Okay.
So if you do your 3 bowls in a triangular arrangement, you can put 1 foot on each bowl.
You got it.
All right, thanks, Jim.
Okay.
All right, so this is from the Women in Turning this past Saturday.
Oh my gosh.
And, there's a photo of the end results of their salt shakers. These are mystery salt shakers. And so you don't pour the salt out to the top, but the salt comes out to the bottom of these. So Edie, Ellen, and Maria's 3 pieces that they made. And so I'll show you a picture of what the bottom looks like here in a second. But you fill them up with salt to the bottom, and then you set them on the table, and you just pick them up and you just shake them in the same orientation that they are sitting on the table, and salt comes out the bottom. So it's created with an inverted funnel in the inside of it. So there's a little hole goes up through the center, and then there's a funnel, inverted funnel in there that comes down at an angle within that, and then there's hollowed out cavity inside the vessel. They're pretty cool. They're fun.
I read they're actually used in places with high humidity because when you set the salt shaker on the table, it blocks off the air.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
Yep,
I made one out of clear acrylic, and I made it wrong. But anyway, it's kind of neat to see the salt go up and down in it.
Yeah, that would be kind of fun. So this is just a shot of the 3 of them working, turning their pieces on the lathes in my shop. And then this is the one, this is Maria's. Maria, you want to talk about it?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
So this was looking very much like a gourd, and Ted really helped me make it more like a pear. It's meant to be a pear. Yeah. And I put a 3/8. 3/8?
The bottom?
Yeah. Is that 3/8?
Um,
Of an
Was
inch. Yeah, the whole.
the hole I think was 1 and a quarter, the big hole.
The bottom.
Big hole.
Yeah, I think we drilled a 1 1/4 inch in it, and then a 1 inch, didn't we?
Oh no, I mean this one. So this is
that hole.
bottom.
Oh no. Oh, that's a 3 30 seconds.
3/30 seconds.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
so
yeah.
metric. I'm completely lost with inches. But so I don't know if you can see.
Yeah.
I didn't hollow out a lot inside of here. So I think all the salt, I've already used it all. So I have to put some more in. Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
And the stem came from Ted's yard.
Yep.
And that gives a nice touch to the fruit.
Is it fair?
Yeah.
It's the last of that oak tree.
Not quite.
That's great. It actually is from the oak tree.
Maria, I have to tell you, that's the reason mine doesn't work. I turned a similar thing out of clear acrylic, but when the top end is narrow, when you turn that over to fill it, you can't get much salt in it because it fills the cavity and you can't put more salt in it.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is a small volume. This is perfect
Yeah.
for people who need a low sodium diet.
There you go. So doesn't the salt just come out when it's sitting on the table? I mean, aren't you constantly brushing salt away?
Yeah, so one thing I learned, I made a short funnel and the whole inside is taller. So salt won't fall out if it's sitting below the height of the funnel. So when you shake it, the salt will kind of jump into the bottom of the funnel and come out.
And the inside is an inverted funnel, right?
Yeah.
That's right. It's an inverted funnel.
Oh, is it 2 pieces and glued to that, or?
Yeah.
Sections
Okay.
fit.
Okay.
Well, actually, the way that we made it, and maybe I can show you. Yeah. So here, so you can see the pieces in the bottom, and actually, this one is glued in because it was the first one. I ended up making it too small because it's hard to explain it, but I was wrong about the size of it. I kept bringing it down because it wouldn't fit in, and it wasn't the problem at all. But the rest of them, then these are just pressed in there. I didn't put any glue or anything in them. Just pressed them in, and this one actually needs a little more sanding off the bottom of it to even it out. But this is the last one I did, which came out starting to get it down, so it comes out a little bit better on it. But this is just look at this as a funnel. Okay, it goes in the hole here, and it's what we ended up calculating, and I think it works well, is that the inside cavity is a half an inch taller than your funnel is. And as Maria was saying, you can't have the funnel too short or you can't put much salt in there. So what we found was about a 2-inch cavity, and then hollow out width-wise as much as you can, and then about 1.5 inches tall funnel into it from the bottom, 1.5 inches, and then depending on what kind of salt you have, if you've got table salt like Morton, then the 3/32 hole is pretty good. If you're using sea salt, which is a little coarser, then an 1/8 inch hole works a little bit better.
Great.
So
basically, your real capacity is just around the outside up to the height of the funnel, right?
That's correct.
So it really isn't really big unless you're going to make that funnel go way up into the piece.
That's correct. Yep. And the other part too, which Terry Seuss was telling me, he's not on tonight, but he apparently has made a few of these too, is that, which we didn't really pay attention to much, but at the top of it, let's see so at the top of it, on the inside, when you hollow it out, he's saying that if you have it dome shaped in there, and we drilled a hole in it, so it ended up being pretty flat for the most part up in there. But I think if you drill a smaller hole to the depth and then make this rounded on the inside, that it works better because the salt comes up from the side and it kind of it doesn't hit a wall. It spins it around over the top of that funnel, and so you get more salt. But quite frankly, I tried this one, which is very similar to the one that Maria made, and it's kind of flat on the top, and it works just fine. It's no problem. They're fun to make. It does take a little bit of time, especially the first one, because you're trying to figure this out. But I'm gonna write up some instructions for it. We had some instructions, but they weren't very good. I get some time, I'll write up some instructions and I'll share them back with everybody.
Since it has food on it, what did you use as your finish?
On these, and then Maria's too, we just use shellac on it. That was it.
Mm-hmm.
On the outside or the inside?
Actually, I put shellac on the inside too. Yeah. I don't think, I don't really don't think you need a finish on the inside, really. I mean, I don't know any reason really to do that, but
I was thinking you wouldn't need to do that because the salt will try and absorb moisture, which will pull it into the wood. And if the wood isn't sealed on the inside, that could end up being a problem with cracking.
yeah, I don't know. You could be true.
Mine has no finish inside or out, so maybe
okay.
next time I'll report back if it cracks.
Looks great.
Yeah. I have to try that.
Yeah, they're fun.
Send those instructions out later on today.
Yeah, okay, Jeff. I'll do that. Just I don't know what day it's going to be, but later in the day.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Michael.
I went and dug some things out from the past because I figured I was sick and tired of seeing basket illusion stuff over and over again. Vessel made from recycled skateboards. So those are all the tail sections from a bunch of busted skateboards.
That's gorgeous. I love the color.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I had nothing to do with the color, but besides reassembling the skateboards.
Good.
It's very appealing on the eye.
It was a fun one to make. And the finish Norm asked is shine juice. So equal parts, what is it? Denatured alcohol, shellac, and boiled linseed oil.
Oh, that really does shine, doesn't it, with
It
that?
does.
How many layers you put of that?
4 or 5. Just not heat friction. And then start off though, before you add the shine juice, start off with a heavy coat of sanding sealer.
Mm-hmm.
Where did you get the skateboards?
A guy he put them on Craig. This is years and years ago. He put them on Craigslist. He had broken skateboards. So I went and met up with him. There's a story behind that. Anyways, he had the whole back of his Prius slammed full with broken skateboards. And he was my age. And he said he gets them from kids at the skate park, which I call BS on. I think he went around to the different skate shops and picked out of their bin or something. But rather him do it, and I'll give him the money for all the boards than me go chase down kids and ask them if I can have their broken skateboard.
Yeah, if you, I'm trying to think of the name of the shop that's downtown skateboard shop.
Endless Grind.
Yeah, Endless Grind. That's it. So, if you go in there and ask them for the broken boards, my son, we got a pile of them, and he used them for making skateboard jewelry. And anyways, they'll give you their broken boards. And
So the challenge is for this one is every deck or every manufacturer has a different angle, the concaveness of their boards, whatever.
yeah.
So getting all the different noses and tails off of the broken boards, sanding them, and then I must have had every clamp I own was on this thing to get them all to actually pull together and take the same shape.
What do you go together with?
Type Bond 3.
You do it in 2 halves?
No, actually I was doing it in sections. So I would do 3 at a time and then maybe try to do another 3 at a time. To try to do it all at once is just too much pressure. They won't conform.
No, do you turn it in section 2?
Oh no, I turn it all one piece.
One? Is that dyed wood or is it impregnated with the?
So on the higher end skateboards, like if you just went to Walmart and picked up a skateboard and you cut it open, the inside would be bland. There'd just be maple. The higher end manufacturers, so a skateboard 7 layers of plywood, and then they dye different layers, different colors. And I have no idea why. Because when you look at it from the side, it doesn't make any sense, but they do it. So
Yeah, I guess you can see it a little bit on the end when you start busting up the end of it.
Yeah. Yep.
But that's the thing that I've always wondered is how to get those all to conform,
Oh,
and glued together like that. It's got to be very difficult.
for a piece like, I mean, if you're doing if you're doing pens or bottle stoppers, it's no big deal. But trying to get them all, I don't want to make any more of those. I haven't made one since.
Yeah, so skateboards have like a grit paper on them, don't they? Like,
Sandpaper. Yeah. So you got to pull. So what I do is take a heat gun, heat up what do you call it? The grip paper, and then start it on a spindle, and then end up putting a drill on the spindle to power pull off the grip tape, and it usually rips anyways, and you got to do it over 3 or 4 times. And then you're lucky you're not like me, but with my hairy arms, I always end up with glue on my arm hair, and yeah, I don't want to do it anymore. If somebody gives me a raw skateboard or Spectraply cube, I'm down, but I don't want to do the other way anymore.
And Mike, what did you say that was? It was denatured alcohol, boiled linseed oil, and what was the third thing?
Shellac. It's equal parts.
I still missed the third thing.
Shellac.
Shellac, thank you.
And then look up, if you want to know how to apply it, look up Captain Eddie's Shine Juice on YouTube. So it's those equal parts, and it's a friction polish. So you got to get the lathe speed up. You got to, put a bunch on I use the blue shop towels. And then if it's not burning your fingertips, you're not doing it right.
Sounds fun.
Yeah, but it makes, a really good finish.
Oh yeah, it's gorgeous.
Nothing you could I wouldn't use it with anything that was
edible.
Well, utilitarian. So if like a bowl or it'll wear off, but for something that's decorative, it holds.
Nice piece. Did you still have this piece, Michael?
No, I sold it, regrettably. I kind of wish I still had it.
Yeah, I was going to say that maybe since you went through so much work and everything, it's kind of fun to still have.
They're interesting. They're great stories. They're good sellers type thing if you're into
kill all
that.
mosquito.
But it's just so much work sourcing the boards and de-gripping them and then sanding off all the varnish and then trying to get them to line up. And it's just a lot of work.
Yeah. Yep. I hear you. Well, thanks for sharing it. It's really cool.
And this was my 2 submissions this week were in last month's Halloween theme.
And this one you had at the craft center, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Yep.
So burl.
Yep. So that was burl, but it was so old and dry that it felt like styrofoam. Like if you took your fingernail and pulled it across the grain, it would just chip away. It's how old and flaky, and it was horrible, but it was just beautiful wood. So it was too big for any kind of vacuum chamber I have for stabilizing. So I literally soaked it for a couple days in a bin, actually a pickle canning container. Soaked it in cactus juice and submerged it for like 3 days and then baked it because I just couldn't do it the regular way. It was too big for the vacuum chamber. But it worked.
Well, it is gorgeous, no doubt.
Thanks. That was a fun one.
And how far did you get hollowed out? How wide is this? It's 11 inches.
11 inches. I bet you there's probably 1 inch to 1.25 inches still left at that widest ring, at the widest diameter.
Yeah. You only can get the tools back there so far, right?
Yeah. And since it's stabilized, it's heavy. What's that?
Were they 5/8 tools or something?
No, actually, so I did it with originally I used the John Jordan hauling tools like normal, but to get back in that deep shoulder, I actually bought a tool off of Amazon that somebody was making. And it was a carbide tip tool that had a off-center cutter head that was not in line. It wasn't a swan neck. It just went up and then dove to the left. really unstable, unsafe tool, but it worked to the best I could get it to do as far as it would reach.
Fun.
Yeah, I'll bring it with me to Art Sploger, and we'll see if some passerby would like to own it.
Yeah. Be fun to see it again.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Michael.
Mhm.
Steve.
So, like Stephen Moll makes those blood drops as a recurring award for in my church when the high school seniors graduate, the church gives them, they have a crossing ceremony and they give them these chalices or a chalice. And for a number of years when my kids were small, there was a potter that made them. But about 10 or 12 years ago, the potter stopped making them and they asked me if I could turn something. And so for the past 10 years or so, 10 or 12 years, I've made anywhere between 5 and 10 of these a year that they give to the high school seniors when they graduate. It's part of the rite of passage for them. So it's ambrosia maple. It's about 7 inches diameter by about 3.5 inches tall, and it's got a tea light insert in it. And so just one of those things. I just gotten to the point where it doesn't take much time to make them. And like I said, this year I made 7. So
How did you do the dark line on the rim?
just with a piece of leather.
Is it burned?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Leather burn that? Interesting.
It's just 2 pieces of maple. You can see the joint in the right at the
right here.
Yep, that's so it's just they're 2 pieces laminated together. It's that rustic wood that Klingspor sells. So it's kiln dried 8-quarter ambrosia maple cutoffs. So the wood is practically free. So and then the next picture is just all 7 of them. So it's a fun thing. Again, it's just one of these things, and the kids are so appreciative. It's fun to go to the service where they do it, and you know, it's odd at this point. They all expect it, so I don't know what's going to happen if I decide to stop doing it. But it's
Is it the same design you do each year? Same, basically.
No, it's whatever moves me that year and whatever
Uh-huh.
wood I have.
Yeah.
So, but sometimes they're more cup shaped. I happen to have some 8-inch wide wood this year that I did I did them this year with a wider brim on them rim. So
Are the bases hollow or solid?
they're solid.
Steve, where'd you get these little glass inserts?
Amazon.
You got them off Amazon, hey?
Yeah, they're just tea light inserts.
Yeah, yeah, nice.
You can buy them at hundreds.
Yeah, I buy them. There's I think 36 in the box. The ones I buy, they're pretty cheap. But anyway, it's just something I do, and I just it's amazing when you get into production mode. There's probably an afternoon's work there. Other than it took me longer to glue up the blanks than it did to turn them. And I just finish them with 2 coats of seal cell, stick them on the vacuum chuck, and knock it down with a Scotch-Brite pad, and then buff them. And so, really simple finish.
Yeah. Very nice. I'm sure they're going to love them. You got another piece here too.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, that's nice.
This is big leaf maple burl, about 10 inches tall, and about 6 inches in diameter at the widest point there, and it's just hollowed out.
Did you leave more mass at the base for stability, or did you hollow it all the way down?
There's probably an inch at the bottom, but it's an art piece, so it stands just fine. it's not particularly stable, but again, that's for standing on the shelf at the flowers for scale. But yeah, and again, just finished with seal cell. And what I've learned is when I do the seal cell, I put my 2 coats on and I'll knock it down with the Scotch Brite, and then I take the pictures before I buff it with the wax. Um, you can't. The other thing I've learned, you really can't use the white diamond or any of the Tripoli with the buffing system because it gets in the burl's too porous, and particularly the white diamond, it just gets into all those black dots on there are actually holes. So it just gets in there, and then you just end up with a dental pick trying to pull it all out. So I put these on the vacuum chuck typically, or I'll just do it with the Scotch-Brite pad by hand, and just knock down that seal cell, and then I'll just wax it with the buffing system. But what I've learned to do is photograph them before I do that, so you don't get the glare.
So one thing that makes this piece look like, I don't know, gives it more character or whatever, is the burl has a swirl like in it. So it's kind of a twist to it. I don't know if you see that or not, but the grain pattern like is running down here. So it makes it look like it's spinning or something.
Yes.
It is. You can kind of see in the lower left there the contrast, that line right then. The contrast.
Yeah, right down. So I mean, you can see it there. You can see it here a little bit too, but it just gives it that kind of a movement look to it because of the grain in the wood.
You just never know when you put a piece of burl on the lathe what you're gonna end up with. It's always fascinating to turn it and see what comes out.
Also, you mentioned you use a vacuum chuck. Isn't burl often porous, or is it me? I always have a piece of a hole go through it somewhere.
It's very porous, and so it has 2 coats of finish on it, which helps before the vacuum chuck. And the other thing is, often I will have to put a piece of masking tape on, particularly on bowls and stuff. I'll just use a piece of masking tape to cover up the holes, and I do this with twice. You could use a rubber chucky on this, which I have, but it's just so easy to use the vacuum chuck, and I have a golf ball that I stick on my my live center, and I just push it into. A lot of times I don't even use vacuum, Jim. I'll take my 6-inch chuck and put it in there, and put the tailstock up with the golf ball on it, and just because I'm not going fast. And I just want to turn it so I can knock it down. Take that Scotch-Brite. I use the ultra fine, not the white, which has no abrasive on it, but I think it's gray is the ultra fine Scotch-Brite pads. And just a word about those Scotch-Brite pads is they don't last long, and when they stop cutting, throw them away, because all you're doing is burnishing it at that point. You're not. They just don't last very long, but they do a great job knocking it down without scratching it.
One thing that I'd like to comment on real quick is that I'm just so impressed with how all of the people submitting work have photographed their pieces. I mean, all of you were doing such a good job with your photography to actually show off your pieces. That in itself is a skill. I'm impressed.
Well, learn how to use Lightroom because
software.
It's Photoshop Lite. It's made by Adobe. It's the little sister of Photoshop, but it is so easy to use. And I can tell you, if you saw this picture, my screen that I sit this stuff on is all scratched up, and and it's got this great little tool called healing. You can fix all the little dust things, and I mean, it just anyway, it's a great tool to get to fix to get better pictures.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Cool.
And the other thing, Fred, is John Vaith did a demo on photography. It's on the it's on the website. It's a really good tutorial on on getting better photographs.
What was John's last name?
Vaith.
Faith.
He's a club member. He used to live in Cary. He moved to Oregon. I think he's still a member of the club.
Yeah.
We don't see him very often because I think we meet on the same night as his local club.
Okay.
But his the tutorial, the demo he did on photography is a really good resource.
Perfect. Thank you.
That might be an interesting breakout sometime. We could do it. We could actually do it on Zoom on using Lightroom.
I'd be interested.
Yeah, it's really easy. If I can figure it out.
They all say that till I get it. And then,
Even you could do it, Jim.
yeah, they all say that till I get it. And then 3 days later.
Oh,
Could be a habit.